Capricorn, the 7 gifts that God gave you and nobody else had sparkles high voltage. Have you ever felt that quiet pull inside, like you're meant to carry something deeper, something sacred, even if the world around you hasn't quite seen it yet? It's not your imagination. Beneath your composed strength, behind your tireless efforts and unshakable resolve, lives a divine truth. You were born with gifts that no one else carries in exactly the same way. This isn't about talents you earn. These are spiritual endowments, silent, profound, and placed within your soul with sacred intention. Gifts that aren't flashy, but timeless. And while others may chase applause or quick victories, you, Capricorn, were designed to move mountains in ways that ripple through generations. Today, we're going to journey inward together. You'll discover 7 gifts seated in your spirit by the divine, not to burden you, but to empower you. These gifts are not about becoming someone new. They are about remembering who you've always been beneath the expectations, the responsibilities, and the armor. I invite you to listen not just with your mind, but with your soul. Take a breath. Light a candle if you wish. Let this be your moment of return. And if this message stirs something in you, if it feels like a truth long forgotten, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this space. Not for numbers, but for alignment, for community, for the collective remembering of what Capricorn truly is, a sacred guide in a world that so deeply needs steadiness and wisdom. Shall we begin? Gate 1. The sacred integrity of Capricorn, divine discernment. Capricorn, the first divine gift placed in your soul, is what I call sacred integrity, a form of divine discernment that reaches beyond mere morality and into the territory of spiritual architecture. You were not just born with a sense of right and wrong. You were born with an ancient compass that knows how to build what is lasting, how to correct what is unjust, and how to walk with a grounded sense of responsibility that can anchor entire generations. This gift is not loud. It does not clamor for attention or reward. It is quiet, enduring, and deeply precise. You may not always recognize it as a gift, because it feels like something you simply must do. But that's precisely the mark of sacred responsibility. It is written into your bones. Let's go back for a moment. Think of your childhood. Maybe you were the one in your family who always tried to hold things together, even when chaos swirled around you. You were the one who knew when someone was being unfair, even if no one else noticed. You felt it in your gut when someone lied, even if they smiled. You could see what others refused to face, and you bore that weight without fanfare. That wasn't just maturity. That was your gift of discernment in action. Capricorns are often misunderstood. People see the discipline, the drive, the ambition, and assume you are cold or calculating. But those who take the time to really know you will find something astonishing beneath the surface. A soul that is constantly measuring the moral weight of things. Not to judge others, but to build something that doesn't collapse under illusion. This is why you struggle with hypocrisy. Why you can't stand empty promises. Why you often prefer to do things yourself. Because you know that integrity is not about appearances, it's about what holds under pressure. Think of historical figures like Nelson Mandela, a Capricorn who was imprisoned for decades, but never abandoned his inner compass. His strength wasn't just political. It was spiritual. He chose forgiveness over vengeance. He chose principle over convenience. And in doing so, he became a vessel for divine justice, not reactive, but redemptive. Your gift works in the same way, Capricorn. Whether you are leading a company, raising a family, mentoring a friend, or quietly working behind the scenes, you carry the frequency of order, justice, and long-term wisdom. But here's the shadow side. Because you hold yourself to such a high standard, you often suffer in silence. You carry burdens that were never meant to be yours. You feel responsible for fixing what others broke. And you forget that discernment is not the same as control. You're not here to save everyone. You're here to hold sacred space for truth, to be the mountain, not the rescuer. Imagine this. You're in a meeting where everyone is rushing toward a flashy solution, but something in you quietly resists. You feel it, something's off. No one else sees it, but your gift speaks up. Wait, there's a consequence no one is talking about. You say it gently, maybe reluctantly, Some roll their eyes. But weeks later, your insight proves true. You weren't trying to be right, you were trying to protect what was real. That's your divine gift at work. And it's more needed now than ever. We live in a world obsessed with speed, shortcuts, and surface-level validation. But you, Capricorn, are the guardian of what lasts. Your discernment helps others make decisions they can live with, not just ones that look good in the moment. You are the quiet voice that asks, will this still matter in 10 years? Will it still be honorable when no one's watching? In spiritual traditions, this quality has always been revered. In ancient temples, there were builders who were not just architects, but priests. They knew that every brick had to be placed with intention, that beauty meant nothing if the foundation was hollow. You carry this same energy. Your life is a temple under construction. And every decision you make, no matter how small, is a stone in that sacred structure. But how do you honor this gift without becoming overwhelmed? First, by recognizing that your own inner balance matters as much as outer order. You cannot be a compass for others if you are lost in your own storm. That means creating space for stillness, releasing the need to fix everything, trusting that sometimes the greatest act of discernment is knowing what's not your responsibility. Second, remember that sacred integrity is not about perfection, it's about alignment. You will make mistakes. You will question yourself. But as long as you keep returning to your center, your path will unfold in divine time. Third, don't hide this gift out of fear of being too serious or too intense. The world may resist your truth at first, but it needs it more than it knows. And your voice, when rooted in integrity, becomes a lighthouse for those lost in the fog of confusion. Capricorn, if you fully embraced this divine discernment, if you trusted that your truth is not just valid, but essential, if you gave yourself permission to act not from fear, but from clarity, what would change? Maybe you would leave the job that no longer aligns with your soul. Maybe you would set the boundary that protects your peace. Maybe you would begin the project you've been quietly dreaming about for years. Not for applause, but because it's what you were born to build. This gift is not about being perfect. It's about being anchored. Anchored in truth. Anchored in legacy. Anchored in the deeper rhythms of the cosmos. You are the keeper of sacred standards, Capricorn. And when you live from that place, not harshly but wisely, you become the kind of soul that others instinctively trust. Because they know, where you stand, there is truth. And where there is truth, there is the beginning of healing. Gate 2. Enduring grace, the beauty that survives the storm. Capricorn, your second divine gift is one that is often overlooked, even by you. I call it enduring grace, the ability to create beauty, not in decoration, but in reconstruction. You do not beautify the surface, you sanctify the ruins. Where others see brokenness, you see the blueprint for rebirth. While many associate beauty with soft colors and aesthetic perfection, your form of beauty is different. It is resilient, lived in, and born from perseverance. It's the beauty of the mountain after the avalanche, the garden that grows through cracked concrete, the warmth of a home rebuilt after the fire. Yours is the beauty of survival, of quiet strength that whispers, I've been through the worst, and I'm still standing. You don't express this gift with loud gestures or theatrical flair. Instead, it shows up in the way you rebuild after loss, the way you make order out of chaos, not because it's easy, but because it's sacred. You may not even realize this is a gift because to you it just feels like doing what must be done. But make no mistake, Capricorn. Every time you keep showing up when you could have given up, every time you carry on with dignity when the world gets ugly, you are offering a kind of beauty that is divine in nature. Imagine someone going through divorce. They've lost their sense of identity, their home, their rhythm. Most people wouldn't know where to begin. But you? You step in with quiet compassion. Not flashy advice, but structure. You say, let's take one step at a time. You help them rebuild their routines, their finances, their sense of self. Not because you have all the answers, but because you understand that rebuilding is its own kind of sacred art. That's your enduring grace. And it goes beyond helping others. It's in how you heal yourself. When grief knocks you down, You don't wallow forever. You sit with it. You name it. You learn from it. Then slowly, with deliberate patience, you begin again. You tidy the house. You get up for work. You start journaling again. You plant things. You build. Again. And again. And again. And what you're doing, without realizing it, is creating something exquisite, a life stitched together by intention, humility, and inner elegance. That's beauty, Capricorn. Not perfection. Not sparkle. But depth. Coherence. Grace. Think of the Japanese art of kintsugi, the practice of repairing broken pottery with gold, honoring the cracks as part of the object's history. That is what you do energetically. You don't hide your scars. You turn them into patterns of strength. And in doing so, you give others permission to do the same. This is why people feel calmer in your presence, even if you're not saying much. There is something solid, grounded, almost ancient about your energy, as if you carry the memory of 100 storms and have found a way to remain still through all of them. In spiritual language, this is not just resilience, it is a transfiguration, a turning of wounds into wisdom, pain into poetry, chaos into form. But let's be honest, this gift doesn't come without cost. You often feel unappreciated. People take your steadiness for granted. They don't see the quiet decisions you make to keep things from falling apart. They don't see the nights you cry in private, then wake up early to keep everything running. And sometimes you wonder, does anyone notice the beauty I build? The answer, Capricorn, is yes. The universe notices. The people you've helped remember, even if they never say it. And the legacy you're creating, one act of grace at a time, is shaping a ripple effect that will outlive you. The challenge is this: don't wait for the world to validate your beauty. Validate it yourself. Recognize that what you offer is rare. In a culture obsessed with appearances, you offer something unshakable: structure, care, devotion, restoration. When others panic, you repair. When others give up, you repurpose. You don't throw away what's broken. You ask, what can be redeemed? Capricorn, if you allowed this gift to fully unfold, if you truly believed that your steady hands were sculpting something holy, how would you begin to live differently? Maybe you'd stop apologizing for being too serious. Maybe you'd lean deeper into your rituals, your crafts, your quiet forms of beauty, like writing letters or tending to elders, or restoring lost traditions. Maybe you'd finally see that what you do, though invisible to many, is saving the world in slow motion. Your enduring grace is the kind of beauty the world needs most right now. In an era of noise, you bring peace. In an age of burnout, you bring rhythm. In a society that forgets its roots, you are the keeper of slow, sacred growth. Don't underestimate what that means. Let others chase trends. You are building temples. Let others chase attention. You are building legacies. Let others chase validation. You are building wholeness, one quiet act at a time. This is your second gift, Capricorn. And it's not just beautiful, it's divine. Gate 3, spiritual leadership, the quiet authority of your soul. Capricorn, the third divine gift placed in your spirit is what I call spiritual leadership. Not the leadership of titles, recognition, or outward command, but the kind of leadership that begins within and radiates quietly into the world. This gift is the subtle yet undeniable ability to hold presence, to walk into a space and become the emotional and energetic anchor for others, without ever needing to prove your worth. From a young age, you may have felt older than your years. While others played carefree, you often observed. You carried responsibilities early, not just tasks, but emotional weights, unspoken duties, the invisible glue that kept things from falling apart. And while that may have sometimes made you feel burdened or even lonely, it also awakened within you a profound wisdom, the understanding that real leadership has nothing to do with dominance and everything to do with stability, consistency, and inner clarity. You are not here to be loud. You are here to be true. People naturally look to you in moments of crisis, not because you seek control, but because your soul emits a frequency of reliability. You may not even realize you're doing it, but when others fall apart, they instinctively turn to you. You are the one who remembers the plan. The one who doesn't flinch under pressure. The one who holds the lantern while everyone else panics in the dark. That Capricorn is leadership, and it is sacred. Let's look at someone like Martin Luther King Jr., another Capricorn soul. His power wasn't in brute force. It was in the moral clarity of his message, the discipline of his strategy, and the unwavering calm in his voice when others shouted in fear. That is what Capricorn leadership looks like, measured, intentional, and deeply grounded in purpose. But make no mistake, this kind of leadership can be heavy. You often carry the emotional labor of everyone around you. You anticipate what might go wrong. You overprepare. You rarely rest. And beneath your calm exterior, you sometimes feel a deep ache. Why does everyone come to me, but no one asks how I'm doing? That's the shadow side of your gift. Because you make it look easy, others assume you're invincible. But you're not. You need rest, softness, and spiritual nourishment, just like anyone else. Your leadership is not meant to be self-sacrifice. It is meant to be service from overflow, not depletion. The invitation here is twofold. First, honor your ability to lead not just through doing, but through being. Your presence, your energy, your clarity, those are enough. You don't have to have all the answers. You simply have to show up in alignment with your truth. When you do, your very existence becomes a map for others. Second, remember that true leadership includes the courage to let others carry themselves. You are not here to rescue everyone. You are here to model what it means to lead a life of purpose, discipline, and self-respect so that others may find that power within themselves. There is a reason people trust you with their confessions. A reason friends call you at midnight when things fall apart. A reason coworkers ask for your opinion when decisions get hard. Your soul speaks a language of order in a world of noise. Your very presence reminds people what grounded clarity feels like. This gift shows up in every realm of your life, not just in professional spaces, but in relationships, parenting, community, and creativity. You bring form to what is formless. You turn chaos into plans. You don't just dream, you build. And in a time when many are lost in illusions or distracted by performance, you offer what is increasingly rare: rooted direction. But don't forget, Capricorn, you don't need a platform to be a leader. You don't need a microphone. Your leadership lives in the way you respond to difficulty, the way you keep your word, the way you stay calm when others spiral, the way you forgive, not because it's easy, but because bitterness robs you of your sacred work. Capricorn, if you fully stepped into this spiritual leadership, not to control others, but to embody your divine design, what would change? Maybe you would begin speaking your truth more freely, not to convince, but to clarify. Maybe you would set firmer boundaries, not from anger, but from respect. Maybe you would finally see yourself not as the one holding everything up, but as the one guiding others toward their own center. This gift is not about perfection. It's not about having it all together. It's about showing others what's possible when you live with intention, with structure, and with grace under pressure. You are the elder, even when you're young. You are the guide, even when you're uncertain. You are the root, even when no one sees your branches. Capricorn, this world is filled with loud voices and fleeting trends. But you are not noise. You are direction. And your gift of spiritual leadership, when owned and honored, has the power to steady not just your life, but the lives of those who walk beside you. Gate 4. The divine path of purpose. Your soul's silent contract. Capricorn, your fourth divine gift is the divine path of purpose, not merely a mission, not a career goal, but a soul-level agreement made long before you were born. While others may wander from passion to passion, seeking novelty or recognition, you were born with a quieter, more enduring hunger, the desire to live a life that matters, a life of substance, of integrity, of contribution. This path is not handed to you on a silver platter. In fact, it often reveals itself through hardship, silence, or delay. But deep down, you've always known there's something you came here to build. Not for glory, not for applause, but because it is part of your spiritual contract with the divine. You may not be able to explain it. You may not even be able to name it yet. But it's there, this inner architecture that guides your steps, even when the outer map is unclear. And while others may chase destiny in dramatic leaps, your path is revealed one stone at a time, through discipline, devotion, and the radical act of showing up, again and again. Let me tell you something that many don't know about you. Your purpose is not loud because your impact is meant to last. You were not made for fleeting success. You were made for legacy. Think of someone like J.R.R. Tolkien, also a Capricorn. He worked for years in quiet, building entire worlds, languages, histories, mythologies, while few paid attention. And yet, what he built shaped culture for generations. That's the energy of Capricorn's purpose. It's not for the moment. It's for eternity. Your purpose might show up in ways that are humble on the surface. A small school you run with integrity, a family line you heal through gentle parenting, a piece of land you restore over decades, or even a story you write that touches one's soul so deeply it changes their entire path. You may not even know when you're fulfilling your purpose. Often, you are doing it precisely when you feel most alone, when you're holding the line that no one else can see, keeping the structure intact while others sleepwalk through the storm. But here's the beautiful truth. Your soul remembers. Your higher self knows exactly why you're here. And that knowing shows up in subtle ways. Through resistance, through yearning, through the quiet ache that whispers, there's more. And yet, the modern world doesn't make it easy. The noise, the distractions, the pressure to rush, it all tempts you to abandon this path, to trade purpose for comfort, to silence your own voice to meet someone else's timeline. But Capricorn, you were never meant to follow the crowd. You were born to follow the call. Even if that call takes a decade to make sense. The danger of this gift is doubt, not the kind that questions ideas, but the kind that questions yourself. There will be seasons where nothing makes sense, where the path feels dark and unrewarding, where others seem to move faster, louder, further. And in those moments, the temptation will arise. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm behind. You're not behind. You're on sacred timing. Your purpose requires time because your roots must run deep. What you're building cannot be rushed. And the divine, in its infinite patience, is never in a hurry with souls like yours. Capricorn, if you trusted this timing, if you believed that your path was not delayed but divinely measured, how would you walk differently? Maybe you'd stop comparing your journey to others. Maybe you'd release the shame of not arriving yet. Maybe you'd look at the quiet parts of your story, the losses, the detours, the years of invisibility, and recognize them as initiations. Because that's what they are. Your path is not linear. It is sacred geometry, unfolding in precise, mystical patterns known only to the soul and the stars. When you follow your purpose, not for praise, but for alignment, you become a living symbol of divine patience and perseverance. You teach others that meaning is not found in speed, but in depth. That joy is not a flash, but a flame. That purpose is not something you chase, but something you become. So ask yourself now, what is quietly calling me forward? What have I always known, but been too afraid to claim? And what would it look like to trust that the dream placed in my heart was not random, but a divine assignment? Capricorn, your soul was not created for imitation. It was created to build a future others can stand upon. You are not here to entertain. You are here to establish. And your gift, this sacred path of purpose, is not only real, it is unstoppable when walked with devotion. The question is not, do I have a purpose? The question is, am I willing to trust the weight of what I already know deep inside? You don't have to have all the steps. You only have to keep taking the next faithful one. That is enough. That is holy. That is Capricorn. Conclusion, you were born for this. Capricorn, if you've made it this far, take a moment. Breathe. Close your eyes. Let everything you've just remembered settle in your chest like a warm ember. These 4 sacred gifts, sacred integrity, enduring grace, spiritual leadership, and the divine path of purpose, are not distant ideals or unreachable spiritual metaphors. They are you. They've always been with you, whispering through your quiet decisions, steady presence, and unwavering devotion to what's right and real. You see, yours is not a path of shortcuts or easy breakthroughs. Yours is the path of the mountain. Slow, ancient, eternal. But just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's small. Just because you aren't always seen doesn't mean you aren't shifting the very foundation of what's possible for yourself, for others, and for this world. Maybe you've spent years underestimating your own power. Maybe you've mistaken your silence for absence, your solitude for insignificance. But nothing could be further from the truth. You were not born to dazzle. You were born to anchor. You were not born to rush. You were born to root. You are the soul who keeps the fire burning through the long winter. The one who shows others how to return to discipline, devotion, and divine order. And in a world increasingly fragmented by chaos and performance, Capricorn, you are the reminder of what is real. Now, I know the road ahead won't always be easy. There will be moments when you question whether your efforts matter, when you feel behind, tired, or even invisible. But please remember this: every quiet act of integrity, every moment of grace, every boundary held, every long-term vision you protect in silence, it all matters. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to become more deeply you. So if these words have resonated, if something inside you is stirred like a long-lost memory returning to the surface, I invite you to honor that. Like this message, if it brought you peace, share it with someone who needs to be reminded of their quiet strength. And subscribe to this space, not out of obligation, but because you want to stay connected to the voice inside you that is finally being spoken aloud here. You are not just a Capricorn. You are a sacred architect of the future. And your gifts, the ones you've carried since the beginning, are not late. They are right on time. Welcome home.